Hello, welcome to Court TV News at 4. I am Frank OMALAPEH. Here are some of the reports we're filing at this time. President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday in Abuja assured state governors that the days of impunity and lack of fiscal recklessness in the management of national resources are over in Nigeria. Buhari, speaking at a meeting with the governors in the presidential villa, vowed to recover all the stolen funds by government officials who abused their offices in the past administration. A correspondent, Pius Samuel, has details.
It's the first meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and state governors since the May 29 inauguration of the new administration. Governors from the states of the Federation took out time to exchange pleasantries. But behind the smiling countenance is a serious issue troubling many of the state executives. For some months now, some of them have not been able to pay salaries, so they are gathered here to find a way out of the financial crash. Chairman of the Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari, wants the federal government to pay state governors monies spent in executing federal projects in their state.
Instead of requesting for the bailout, according to popular words, more especially used by the press, we requested from the president that we have done some jobs or some projects that are undertaken by the states. If the state can be able to get the fund on that money, we can be able to get relief so that we can be able to start paying the salaries. One. Two, we mentioned to him that most of the loan that tying the states down are term loan, and most of them are within the duration of 4 years and 7 years. So now the fuel balance of the loan, if it can be straightened to 20 years.
Recently, the Supreme Court ruled that the excess crude account run by the federal government is unconstitutional. This, the governors say, has encouraged leakages in the system and needed to be checked. They are now insisting that every revenue be paid into the consolidated revenue account.
If you hear anything about sharing, all we are saying is we are operating under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let us abide by the provisions of that Constitution, and that's what my chairman has tried to explain to you. If you hear anything sharing, probably it's in respect of the excess crude account, and you know as at today, the excess crude account has been declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So any other account that is apart from the Consolidated Revenue Fund account, the Constitution says every kobo earned by the Federation should go into the Consolidated Revenue account, not any other account. So the issue is not about sharing. And in fact, we have come to assure Mr. President that in our own individual rights, in our states, we are taking actions to assuage the situation. We are trying to plug loopholes. We are trying to stamp out corruption so that the business of government will be done in accordance with extant rules.
For his part, the Benue State Governor says he has the permission from the State House of Assembly to borrow the sum of 10 billion naira to pay at least 3 months' workers' salary. He is, however, sure that the country will soon get out of the financial crash.
I have a bailout, a temporary bailout, by borrowing, getting approval to borrow the sum of 10 billion naira to be able to pay salaries for at least 2 months and then stabilize the system. Then we can move forward. I believe that the federal government will also intervene. Mr. President is quite passionate and committed to ensuring that we get out of this mess where we have found ourselves.
President Buhari has also assured the governors that once stolen funds are recovered, they will go a long way in boosting the financial strength of the state. Pius Samuel, Core TV News, Abuja.
And our state governors want President Muhammadu Buhari to refund what they spent on federal government projects in their domains. This was the proposal they said they discussed with the president at the State House in Abuja. Chairman of the National Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari, disclosed this to State House correspondents at the end of the meeting. He argued that if the affected state gets the money owed them by the federal government, it will be easy for them to pay salaries without a bailout from the federal government.
Instead of requesting for the bailout, according to popular words, more especially used by the press, we requested from the president that we have done some jobs or some projects that are undertaken by the states. If the state can be able to get the fund on that money, we can be able to get relief so that we can be able to start paying the salaries. 1. 2, we mentioned to him that most of the loan that tying the state down are term loan, and most of them are within the duration of 4 years and 7 years. So now the fuel balance of the loan, if it can be straightened to 20 years, I think it will give relief so that we can be able to continue with the activities and salaries can continue to be paid by the state. And also, the tax-paid money that are paid by LNG, about 1.6 billion, we also requested, instead of paying to the federal government, we requested those monies should be paid to the federation account so that it can be shared to the utilities of government, so that we can also get ready to do 1 or 2 things. I think that these are the issues that we raised heavily, and also we talked to President that the President should follow the constitution of the country, more especially when it comes to the issue of money sharing. Section 80 is very clear that we urge President that all monies should go to the consolidated revenue account for the purpose of sharing.
Okay, sir. And now President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday said that his administration has received firm assurances from cooperation from the United States and other countries on the recovery and repatriation of funds stolen from Nigeria. Speaking at an audience with members of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council led by the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammadu Sa'ad Abubakar, and President Buhari said that it was now up to Nigeria to provide the international community with the facts and figures needed to drive the recovery effort. He emphasized that the next 3 months of his administration will be busy getting those facts and figures to help recover stolen funds taken to foreign countries. Citing the report submitted by the Ahmed Jordan-led Transition Committee, President Buhari said that several revenue-generating institutions in the country have been compromised, leading to a weak economy. On insecurity, the president said that the traditional rulers could play a key role in stemming the terrorism and insurgency in Nigeria by assisting the government with cost-effective intelligence gathering. With the challenge of the financial crisis currently faced by states culminating in the failure to pay salaries by a good number of them, many Nigerians have begun to wonder if this may not spell doom for the much-touted change the Buhari administration is expected to bring. But for these public affairs analysts, all is nothing but a storm in a teacup. He advised state government to start thinking outside the box and look inwards.
Look for money, and some of the state government have taken the right.
The People's Democratic Party has dismissed recent revelations by President Muhammadu Buhari of an empty treasury as an excuse. He says it was an excuse for possible failure to deliver on campaign promises to Nigerians. The party said in a statement issued on Tuesday by its spokesman, Olisametu, that President Buhari and the All Progressive Congress were privy to the nation's dwindling economy. According to the PDP, the economic crisis was triggered by global economic downturn caused by fall in international oil prices even before the start of the last electionary campaigns. The party accused Buhari and the APC of choosing to deceive Nigerians with bogus promises, only to now resort to excuses after using the promises to secure power at the center. Now the controversy trailing the emergence of Ondo State Governor Olusegun Mimiko as the chairman of the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has been laid to rest. His election was confirmed by his colleagues at the end of a meeting on Monday night in Abuja. In a communique read on behalf of other governors by the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, the PDP Governors Forum affirmed its support in the choice of Mimiko. The governors also resolved to speak with one voice on issues of national importance.
At the 2015 second post-election meeting of the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum held today, Monday, June 22nd, 2015, at the Secretariat in Maitama, Abuja, we resolved and hereby issue a communique as follows. Number one, the election of His Excellency Dr. Olusegun Mimiko of Ondo State as the chairman of the forum was ratified by all the governors present, 12 of the governors that came. Two, we insist that the state election tribunals in Rivers State, Taraba State, and Akwa Ibom State, which were illegally relocated to Abuja, must be returned to their various states immediately.
We are repositioning PDP, and that is necessary. After our outing in the last election, we are doing some reorganization, rebranding, repositioning. Essentially, that's what we are doing now. We are also putting ourselves together to offer very responsible and constructive opposition. I have said this, and let me repeat it again, that on any policy, on any issue, if we disagree, we must, and we will, provide alternative views.
The National Assembly is to take a second look at its budget to ensure that it is in line with current economic realities. Senate President Bukola Saraki will disclose this in a welcome address after a 2-week break, added that the federal legislature will make its budget more open.
The Senate is back in session after a 2-week break. During this period, nationwide attention was on the current economic situation, with many Nigerians complaining of an alleged plan by lawmakers to share almost 9 billion naira as wardrobe allowance. The Senate President described the claims as mischievous in his welcome address.
In the last few days, we've seen the media awash with fictitious reports on wardrobe allowances for National Assembly members. The response to this report, which was false and reckless at best, further emphasizes the need for us to be more transparent in the National Assembly to avoid attendant misinformation this type of mischief can bring.
He, however, indicated that the new leadership of the National Assembly plans to take a second look at its budget as well as make it more open.
We shall be setting up a committee, ad hoc committee immediately to reappraise the structure of the National Assembly budget, review the level of openness, the level of public enlightenment to ensure that the entire budget is in line with economic realities.
The Senate President also touched on the inability of many states to meet their obligations. His advice is that this is a time for governments at all levels to be more creative in raising their revenue base, and for the legislature to work at reducing all revenue leakages.
We must get into the business segment and make priority efforts to have a closer review of the revenue stream. One sure task we must deal with is to ensure to minimize the current crisis will be to find ways and means to shore up the revenues. To achieve this, all cards will be on the table. Most importantly, we must reduce to the barest minimum revenue leakage points.
The Senate President also announced the immediate composition of an 18-man Senate ad hoc committee comprising 3 senators from each geopolitical zone to draw up a legislative agenda for the 8th Senate. The committee is expected to turn in its report within a week.
You're watching the Core TV News at 4. We'll take a break now. We'll be back with more stories after.
is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to our husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Also, some people will strong for Yoruba land, will be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
You're still watching Court TV News at 4 live from our Lagos studios. For more information on our news and other programs, visit our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Court TV News. You can also follow at Court TV News NG. For live streaming, log on to youtube.com/Court TV. Give your space, then news. Now, members of the Senate loyal to Senate President Bukola Saraki have rejected the position of the All Progressive Congress on principal leaders. They are not prepared to accept the choice of Ahmed Lawan as majority leader, even though they agreed to hand the position to the Northeast Zone. Indication to this emerged as a meeting attended by members of the two contending groups and the party's state Senate caucus. The Saraki group also planned to zone the position of Deputy Senate Leader to the northwest, Chief Whip to the southwest, and Deputy Whip to the lone APC Senator from the south-south, Francis Ali Mikena. And now the Senate has rejected the attempt to bring up issues relating to the internal crisis in the Senate caucus of the All Progressive Congress at plenary. It also turned down allegations that the Senate rule books were amended to pave way for the election of Ike Kwemadu as Deputy Senate President. The first effort was made by Senator Gbenga Shafa, who accused Senate President Bukola Saraki of withholding a letter from the party on its decision on the sharing of principal offices. Another Senator, Kabiru Marafa, also claimed that the Senate rules were amended overnight to pave way for secret ballot of voting for the offices of Senate President and Deputy Senate President. The Senate President, however, overruled both senators who are key members of the Ahmed Lawan group after some other senators had picked holes in their positions. And our reconciliation talks among senators elected on the platforms of the All Progressive Congress have failed to yield positive results. This was after senators loyal to Senate President Bukola Saraki insisted on caucuses selecting principal officers instead of the party leadership. The meeting, which was called to resolve the intra-party crisis over the emergence of Bukola Saraki as Senate President, also resulted in the physical assault of at least one senator. This was in spite of the admonition by the Senate President at the beginning of the meeting for peace.
And trust in one another. The leadership of our party expects us to hit the ground running, and the Nigerian populace are waiting to see us in action to deliver on our promises and commitment. Let us start this journey of unity today, my distinguished colleagues. Let the world see that yes, in the 8th Senate, we are one family and we are capable of doing it. We should work together and ensure that we're not distracted, and let us be focused, and let us be focused and determined. Distinguished colleagues, I do believe no matter what the issues are standing among us as a family, they are surmountable and they are resolvable. In the atmosphere of love and understanding, in this room today, we can and we shall put the past behind us, and we shall come out of this room individually and collectively victorious. There is nothing like a winner or a loser. Our party APC is a winner, and we are all conquerors.
Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has presented a draft of legislative agenda to the House for consideration. He explains the framework which focuses on review of national budgetary process and transparency in governance, among others, will serve as roadmap for the 8th House. 3 hardcore committees on media review of standing order and review of code of conduct will also constituted. Correspondent Basiai has more.
The 8th House of Representatives resumed for its first session on Tuesday after a 2-week recess and almost immediately went into a closed session. After the in-house talks, it took time for lawmakers to settle for the business of the day, as members were seen interacting with each other. At 12:23, the Speaker called the House to order, which signifies the commencement of legislative business. Speaker Dogara then presented the draft legislative framework.
The 8th House of Representatives takes off against a background of huge expectations from Nigerians. These expectations relate to the way government business is conducted. To address this expectation, the House of Representatives will implement a legislative agenda that will position the House to deliver legislation in aid of development and reforms aimed at improving conditions of living in Nigeria. The agenda outlines steps and prioritizes legislative actions required to achieve set goals and objectives.
Then it was time for the business of the day, and members jostled to move their motion. However, the 2 motions brought before the House were dropped, as the sponsor of one of the motions was absent, while the other stepped his motion down. But Adamu Kamale, representing Michika and Madagali federal constituencies of Adamawa State, was quick to raise a motion on the urgent public importance. He wants a federal intervention in rehabilitating roads and bridges in Michika and Madagali constituencies affected by Boko Haram.
I would like this Honorable House to consider this issue as stake by first resolving to direct the National Emergency Management Agency, that is NEMA, and other relevant agencies to facilitate the erection of temporary bridges across the 4 rivers that the major bridges have been destroyed. That's the first prayer, Mr. Speaker. The second one is, of course, to get a permanent solution, in which case I also plead with this Honorable House to resolve to direct the Federal Ministry of Works to, as a matter of urgency, embark on construction of the 4 bridges, one at Dilchin, one at Kutu, one at Urongaini, and one at Kalaa.
The House has adjourned till Wednesday for further legislative activities. Basiaye, Core TV News, Abuja.
And South caucus of the All Progressive Congress in the House of Representatives has kicked against an alleged proposal for the loyalist group to allot the position of Deputy Chief Whip to the region. Speaking at a press briefing, the leader of the caucus Iriashe from Edo State, described the proposal as fraudulent and insensitive, as zoning of principal officers has never been discussed. They further stated that such selfish act was responsible for the emergence of the leadership of the upper chamber and the lower chamber. The police authorities have have deployed additional 158 patrol vehicles on the nation's highways on the orders of Inspector General of Police Solomon Arase. This, according to him, is in preparation to take in charge of internal security across the country in line with a presidential directive. The Inspector General told journalists in Abuja that the police are prepared to fill any voids that may be created by the dismantling of military checkpoints across the state.
The issue is that, when you want to dominate the security space, it is how you strategically deploy your resources. That is what matters. The most important thing is for us to give Nigerians that psychological reassurance that there is police presence everywhere we go. Even the citizens, you also have a function to perform in internal security management. If you get information, you pass it on to the police force. Everybody, it's not only the police business, it's a collective thing.
As the activities of insurgents continue to rise across West Africa's sub-region, The Controller General of
The issue
Nigeria
is that,
Immigration Service, David Paradang, has called for more vigilance at the borders. Paradang stated this at a summit on mobility and security in West Africa organized by Clean Foundation in Lagos. Represented by Mohammed Nuruddin, Deputy Controller of Immigration Service Command, says monitoring of immigrants coming in and out of the country is essential to checking the activities of criminal-minded people.
It is also our duty to study him very well. Is that visa really genuine or fake? We have to look at the visa. Then, if he is given permit to enter the country, what do we do when he is residing in the country? We have to monitor him also. Because certainly we cannot give him free hand and then or to be moving the way he likes. No, that's why we have our IIE, Intelligence, Inspectorate, and then Enforcement.
And now the National Emergency Management Agency says it has about 60% control of managing the population of the nation's over 1 million internally displaced persons. This was disclosed by the agency's Southwest Public Relations Officer Ibrahim Fariloye in an exclusive chat with Court TV News. He also asked state government to address the issue of the internally displaced persons with more urgency. A correspondent Omotaya Law has details.
Following the attacks by the terror group Boko Haram in northeastern Nigeria, various communal clashes and natural hazard-induced disasters, the International Displacement Monitoring Center puts the figure of internally displaced persons in Nigeria at over 1.5 million people. Just over a year ago, the National Emergency Management Agency reported that floods led to the displacement of 66,000 people. Most of those people were still grappling with the situation they found themselves. But speaking on the issue, the Southwest Public Relations Officer of NEMA, Ibrahim Fariloye, says there has been a rise in the success recorded by the agency in addressing the issues relating to IDPS.
Most of the first medical facilities have been upgraded, so they are in safe hands.
The NEMA spokesman advised Nigerians to take safety precautions in this rainy season as a result of the dangers such as a result of flash floods and other associated dangers. He also urged Nigerians to be their brother's keeper, adding that when issues go beyond their control, they should dial the 112 emergency number toll-free.
People within the flood-prone area should move to the higher ground in case of flooding, and when they see signs of rainy season or rainfall, children should not be sent on errand. The vulnerable group, not only children, especially the elderly, the elder ones around their area, they should be their brother's keeper and take care of them.
Nigeria is prone to frequent flooding, which led to the world's second largest displacement caused by disaster in 2012. As the rainy seasons are here, experts have advised that preventive measures be taken seriously by the leaders and the led. Omotayo Alo, Court TV News, Lagos.
And now the kingship crisis rocking Ikere-Ekiti in Ekiti State has again taken a new twist, with the head of the kingmakers calling for a fresh selection process for the emergence of the new Ogoga. The Sapetu of Ikere-Ekiti, Michael Shitu, who is also the second in command to Ogoga, told newsmen in an interview on Tuesday that the vote process that led to the election of Jimmy Adu Alagbado as the Ogoga-elect was a total violation of the town's tradition. Rashi reported that the ruling houses in the town also renewed their calls to the state government and the kingmakers to ensure that due process is followed to select a new Ogoga in order to prevent chaos in the town.
The kingship crisis rocking Ikere-Ekiti is showing no signs of abating, with some stakeholders in the selection process beginning to distance themselves from the emergence of Jimmy Adu Alagbado as Ogoga-elect. In an interview with newsmen, the head of the kingmakers, who is also the second in command to Ogoga, the Sapetu of Ikereland, says no process whatsoever has been done in selecting Ogoga-elect, citing various lacunae in the process and actions of some stakeholders.
We have not even started. I'm not just telling you, even the person who wrote the letter for the commencement of the processes for the appointment of the new Ogoga, it's not a person supposed to do that letter. And that letter is written by the secretary to the local government. as against the secretary to the traditional committee. Understand me? Yeah. So that is the first step is even wrong. We have not even started.
He added that the crisis over the stool is due to non-adherence to the tradition of the town.
Let's take it that, take for granted that all those processes, they are complying with it. And the Omawas are now, but DCU will not have a reason if he has gone through a capital in the first instance. So far, when you have not passed through a capital, you have not, nothing has been done.
Just as the Sabitu is making this statement, the three ruling houses said the purportedly elected Ogoga, Jumia Adu Alagbado, is only entitled to the Olute chieftaincy title and not the Ogoga.
If you are entitled to the Olute at Okekere, how can you come down to Uro and say you are entitled to be a king? It's never done. It's an abuse of process.
While the ruling houses are calling for a fresh selection process, the state governor, Ayodele Fayose, says he will stand by the wish of the people on the issue. Rashid, Court TV News, Ikere Ekiti.
You're still watching the Court TV News Hour. I will take a break now. Be back shortly with more stories outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
And in business now, there has been an improvement in the revenue available for distribution among the federal, states and local governments from the Federation accounts for the month of May. 409.35 billion naira is the total shared by all three tiers of government, with a gross revenue of 324.061 billion naira, higher than the 282.062 billion naira received in the previous month by 41.99 billion naira. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Anastasia Nwokobiara, explained that the increase in crude oil price and exchange rate gain led to increase in revenue.
To 317.236 billion. The next statutory, this amount was distributed as follows. For the federal government, 151.806 billion. For state, 76.997 billion. For the local governments, 59.362 billion. And then under the derivation, which we all know is 13%, 29.071 billion. Then the VAT. The VAT realized for the month of May was 56.821 billion. From there, cost of collection was given to the Federal Inland Revenue, 2.273 billion, giving us a net figure of 54.548 billion.
Outside Nigeria now, Pakistan's Prime Minister called for emergency measures as the death toll for a heat wave in southern Sindh province topped at 450. The National Disaster Management Authority said it has received orders from Nawaz Sharif to undertake immediate response measures. The army has also been deployed to set up heat stroke centers and assist the NDMA, and it added that many of the victims are elderly people from low-income families. Health officials said many deaths have been in the largest city, Karachi, which has experienced temperature as high as 45 centigrade in recent days. Hundreds of patients suffering from the effects of the heat wave are being treated at government hospitals. Provincial Health Secretary Said Manjenu said the demand for electricity for air conditioning has coincided with increased power needs over Ramadan, when Muslims fast during daylight hours. Hot weather is not unusual during summer months in Pakistan, but prolonged power cuts seems to have made matters worse The BBC's Sai Jilani reports. Sporadic angry protests have taken place in part of city, with some people blaming the government and Karachi's main power utility, K Electric, for failing to avoid death. The Prime Minister had announced that there would be no electricity costs, but outages have increased since the start of Ramadan, the report said. And now South Sudan Minister of Health said on Tuesday that no fewer than 18 people have died of cholera in the country's central equatorial state. South Sudanese Health Minister Rek Gai Kok said that over 171 cholera cases have been confirmed, declaring an outbreak of the highly contagious infection. The first cholera case was reported on UN protection of civilians based in early June. He said cholera treatment centers have been established in Juba Hospital and the International Medical Corps Clinic at the Pok to manage suspected and confirmed cholera cases. The disease outbreak adds to suffering of the South Sudanese people who are already facing tough humanitarian conditions caused by the escalating violence in the newly established state. South Sudan plunged into violence in December 2013 when fighting erupted between troops loyal to President Salva Kiir and defectors led by his former deputy Riek Machar. The conflict soon turned into an all-out war, with the violence taking on an ethnic dimension that pitted the president's Dinka tribe against Machar's Nuer ethnic group. The clashes have left thousands of South Sudanese dead and forced around 1.9 million people to flee their homes. Well, that's a wrap on Court TV News at 4. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. I'll see you again.